Hi, this is Craig from Terrain Direct. Today I'm going to be showing you how to build a ruined building for your wargaming. It's very simple, very quick. First of all, you will need foam card. For those of you that don't know what foam card is basically foam sandwiched between two pieces of card. You will also need a basing material. I'm going for this. It's a rigid plastic. But you don't have to use rigid plastic. You can use things like MDF, hardboard. I wouldn't suggest using things like cardboard or foam. Over time these can wear away, warp, and it's just going to ruin your model. What I'll also be using is Tallast. Tallast is brilliant. It brings a whole new depth to your model. Flock. Flock is a must, so you can texture your base. Clump foliage. Clump foliage is easily available from any model store, and basically this little stuff, this will also add a lot of depth, making things like shrubs around your model. You'll also be needing paint. I'll probably not be using this paint. I'll probably go for more of a masonry paint, a textured paint. It'll give a lot more depth to the model walls. A must for doing any sort of terrain project is a cutting mat. I can't stress enough on having a cutting mat. It will save your work surface, and if you're using your wife or your girlfriend's cutting table or even your mum and dad's table, you slip with a knife, that's it, it's gone. PVA glue, that says it in itself. Pen, paintbrush, doesn't have to be a brand new one, an old one will do just as good. Most of the time with this model you're going to be dry brushing over your layers. And last but not least is a knife. You need a really decent sharp knife. Very cheap, you can get them from almost anywhere. So, without further ado, let's get into this project and start building your building. Okay, so we've got our cutting mat down. First things first, the foam card. I'm using a rather big piece of foam card. This is, I think this is an A2 sheet of card. You can get it in all different sizes from A4, A3, A2, A1 and A0. This is more than enough for what I'm going today. So first of all, we need to decide on the size of the building. It doesn't need, you can have it as big as you like, as small as you like, it's entirely up to you. I'm going to go for around about a 6-inch building. So with a ruler, is mark at your 6. Around about the 6-inch mark, just make a mark. And again. And this is going to be kind of square, so I'm going to make another 6-inch mark. You can see the marks on the foam. And now just join up the dots. That's the first side done. I'm going to have windows inside the building on this end panel. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to roughly work out where I want my windows. I'm going to use the thickness of the ruler for my windows. So what I'm going to do, it doesn't have to be accurate this, you can measure it if you wish. I'm not going to bother. Roughly my windows are going to be about 1 inch. we go. That's the first two windows done. I'm going to have 4 windows on this particular model. So what I'm going to do to carry these down is sit my ruler in my first mark and just draw 2 more lines down. And there we go. You don't have to worry if you make a mistake with the pen, you're going to be painting over this anyway. There we go. That's the first side done. Now I'm going to copy this because I want 2 elevations. So I'm going to go ahead and just duplicate that, and then we'll come back to the cutting out. There we go. Now I have both sections done. This one and the second side. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go out with a cutting out. Cutting out is really easy, very self-explanatory, but I'm going to go through it anyway. Metal ruler, I think I forgot to include this at the beginning. A metal ruler is brilliant to have. It'll last you a lifetime if you treat it properly. Plastic ones, if you slip with a knife, the chances are you're going to take a gouge out of your ruler. So not that great. So what we do is don't try and cut all the way through on your first attempt. Just cut the first skin of the card, and then go through for a second, right the way through this time. That's why it's so important to have the cutting mat underneath, because you don't really want to be cutting into the table here. I'm going to go and cut the 2 sections out straight away. There we go, that's how easy that was. I can get rid of the rest of the card for now. And there we go. Now I'm going to cut out the centre line, so we've got our 2 panels. Again with the ruler. Don't try and cut through it all in one shot. There we go. Now you've got your 2 end panels. When these are put together, you can sort of see how it's going to be. The 2 end panels will fit together. The next step, cutting out the windows. Again, same as before when you're cutting the outside, don't try and go through all in one shot. I prefer to go through it halfway through the first time and do most of my cuts, and then come back and go through it a second time. Now for the second, right the way through this time. That should just pop out like that. Right, I'm now going to go ahead and do the other 7, and then we should be able to start putting the building together. Okay, so we've got all our windows cut out now. The next thing that I want to do is join these seams here. Because there's a line of foam inside, I don't really want to leave the foam showing on one side because that can affect the overall outlook of the building. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to trim away this section of the foam in here to give a seamless joint. It's very simple to do. Take your pen, put down your foam, place the other one so it's flush on the back, and draw a line straight down. That's the thickness of the other foam. And what to do now is place your ruler on the line, take your sharp knife and only go through one section of the foam. One line all the way down. Done. And then take your knife and just trim it down at the side of the cardboard. Be careful with your fingers with this one. If you slip, you could have yourself a nasty accident. I've not gone all the way through on the first one, so I'll just a little bit more. And once again down the sides. And then that will just pop off there. So what effect this will actually give you now is this effect. So when the two buildings are joined together, they fit neatly inside and we now have a seamless joint. Right, now as you can see how the building's going to stand. The building will stand like this. So what we need to do now is it's going to be a ruined building. So we're going to have to put some battle damage over the building, whether it be actually battle damage or just wear and tear, if you want to make it look like the building's fallen in on itself, or it's very simple to do again, is and just like your imagination run wild. Again, the side with the joint, don't cut down on that side. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually go through one of the windows. I'm going to try and make it look as natural as possible. And how I'm going to do that is instead of having round the curves, after I've finished cutting the round curve, what I will then do is I will square this off and have some of the foam protruding from one side. So, first of all, I'll start with the round cut. And then across this way. And this one I'm going to zigzag. Now I have one section of ruined building, but it's not going to look great just like this. What we need to do is chamfer one of the sides, try and cut away from yourself here, just take off little pieces of the foam, just like that, cutting away from you all the time. Doesn't matter how deep you go, after all it's a ruined building. Then again on the front side, again cutting away. I'm going to take this one really deep. And now, as you can see, I have a section. Now I'm just going to rough this up. Cutting wee chunks out here and there. And there we go. Now I'm going to repeat that same process across this side. And then again at the top. So now I have a very rough, ruined looking side. So because it looks a little bit too neat, I'm just going to take some zigzags, just like triangles, out of the building. And what I want to do here is on this section of the window is I'm just going to go completely wild and I'm going to break down the window. So I'm going to make it look like there was a big hole broken through the window. So again, same process, cutting it out first and then chamfering it second. There we go, I have a nice big hole now. Now again for added effect, just to chamfer the sections off. I'm not going to chamfer the back of this one this time, just the front. There we go. And if you can see, that's the edge of the card and that's exposed foam. So again, I'm just going to rough this up by just cutting some wee chunks out. Again, down here. Just like that. So I'm going to go ahead and go and trim off my other side and then we'll start to glue the building together. Okay, so we're all ready to assemble the model. Here's the two pieces and here's the baseboard. Hard plastic. Now for speed I'm going to be using a hot glue gun. PVA works just as good, I'm just using this just for speed, to speed everything up. And what I'm going to do is put a thin bead of glue right the way down the cavity. And press this in. Bring it in flush together. Use an old piece of the cut off foam card, wipe away the excess. And just in a couple of seconds that'll be dry dry already, and that will be ready to go straight onto the board. So again, I'm going to run a bead of glue right the way down the bottom. If you were using PVA glue, you will have to wait a little bit of time for your sides to dry. Position it on the board where you would want it and glue.